Welcome back, everyone. Today we're out here at the cabin again. I'm just going to boil down some of the sap from this week and just have a great time. Come on along. Let's have some fun. So it is pretty mild out today. It's about 5 degrees and it's there's a little bit of light rain going on right now. Got my Cabela's raincoat on. It's awesome. Really great little hood and very breathable. And it's just fine. Just like a light shell over my sweater today. So it's really nice. I'm out getting some sap from the buckets. Let's see what we have today. As I mentioned before, is why you want the lids on here so the rain doesn't get into your sap. So we'll take the lids off and we'll see what we have. Oh yeah, there we go. Got a half a pail in that one. And we'll take a look. So these have been out a little over a week. Very early on in the season up here, of course. So sap's just starting to run. A quarter of a pail there, so not too bad. So I'll just probably pop that. Oh yeah, I can easily pop that in there. And we'll take it down to the fire. Got a few more pails in there. Let's go check them out. Doubt there'll be too much in here. It's kind of deep in the forest. Oh yeah, there's not too much there at all. It's very easy to lift. Oh, nothing to write home about at all. Oh, let's not worry about that one. Move that out for when it gets a bit warmer. And this one, let's see. That's pretty light as well. Yeah, just a little bit, so I'll put that in my other pail there. All right, so we're gonna head over to the fire. I've got my bucket there. And a turkey fryer. Turkey fryer pot. So we're gonna just boil off some of the water from the sap to make maple syrup. This is a good boy. He's got his little raincoat on too. He's been tending the fire. So we'll get this sort of a little more organized so we can boil off the sap. All right, so that's a little bit better, don't you think? So I've got a total rager going on underneath here. And I've got my grill that I got from Bob at Gilla Glue Bird. I love that grill. And here's my turkey fryer. A little pot here. And there's the sap. So a little bit of rain. You can see like just spitting there on the top of the sap. But that's not enough to dilute it or anything like that. It's going to get boiling really fast. And pretty pumped. It's a beautiful, you know, early spring day, shall I say. I don't mind the rain too much. You've got my nice Cabela's rain jacket on, so got me well covered and got a good hood on there, so it's all good. It's just spitting. It's not really that bad. I don't mind being out in this. I'm sure Royce doesn't care either. He's zipping around looking at all kinds of stuff, chasing you know, mice into the snow and stuff like that. So I'm gonna let this go for a while. Obviously, for maple syrup, you want to boil it down. Basically, it's 1 part of syrup. It's like 40 parts water basically, so there's quite a lot of water to come off of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish this actually at home. I just want to take off some of the water so that I don't have to, you know, bring that all back home. Before I used to bring, you know, like 4 or 5 big pails home and then store them in, you know, cold garage and then boil as I can. But now I think I'm going to do most of the work here. It just doesn't make sense to be tracking it back and forth like that. None at all. So basically I'll bring it down so I can bring it in a small pail and then I'll finish it just on the stove. And I've got all my, you know, bottles at home and my filters and stuff like that. So it'll just be a lot easier. So we'll see how this works. All right, let's take the sled and we're going to check out the birch taps. All right, we have arrived. Raining pretty good now, but sap's boiling really well. Let's go take a look at the birch. I don't really know, to be honest with you, if we've got a lot of sap from the birch right now. It's got a little bit, they're exposed to the sunlight in the field, but not really 100% if we're gonna get a lot of stuff here. So let's go take a look. Treacherous to get down in there. Ooh, yeah, what a mess. Well, look at this, precariously balancing on a little bit of snow there. Oh, maybe there's something in there. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look. Nothing. Yeah, I didn't think they were going to run very well right now. I think they were going to take another few weeks for that. Maybe another couple weeks. Well, we'll keep them all set up. I'm just going to set them up a little bit better here because they're melting out. Look at that one. It fell over. So, this is what happens. You know, it's right there and it flips over. This one's basically empty too, I think. Yeah, there's nothing in there. That's okay. We'll wait a little bit longer. Well, not much longer, and the snowpack here in the field is going to be gone. I would say 3 weeks. 3 weeks, you'll probably see just my snowmobile track left, and that's it, that's all. Of course, Royce is eating snow and playing in the snow like it's going out of style, which it is. I can't wait for spring. Really looking forward to it. One neat thing is you can see all the mouse tracks and vole tracks in the snow as everything's melted out. You see all these little lines. That's just how rodents have traveled underneath the snow this whole time in the winter. Sometimes you can find little tunnels where grouse have hidden, or the little critters during the really cold nights. Well, take a look at this. We are having a good roll and boil here. It's going down really fast. This is the way to do it. I used to do this actually over propane, I don't know, 12 years ago or so. This is the way to do it. Nothing beats smelling that wood, you know, from the fire and the sweet sap in the air. It's awesome. Well, bad news. Let's take a look at the snowmobile. So Royce is horsing around, running after me, doing his herding thing, grabs the seat, like not nice. I totally fixed this several years ago. You guys remember that video, but look, it's kind of made me look a little bit deeper at the situation, and the wood is rotten. Yeah, rotten, rotten, rotten. So, guess what I'll be doing? Fixing that. Oh boy, that was so much work on my sewing machine. I fixed this, but I'm gonna do it again. I mean, the wood, that's no big deal, but I'm gonna have to sew all these seams again, and oh god. Yeah, he just sort of like was running behind me and just grabbed. You know, he is a herding breed, so that's, you know, usual. I think he thinks that he's herding me and it's fun, but yeah, not fun when he's grabbing things and ripping them. So, oh boy. Well, it's near the end of the snowmobile season anyways. This is probably my last few rides here. And then I'll have some work cut out for me, that's for sure. There you have it. I've officially recorded the return of the geese to the cabin. That's awesome. I've also been hearing some other woodland birds that I recognize from the spring, but haven't heard in a while. I have to brush up on my identification of birds just by sound. As you can see, we're almost there. We're right near the bottom. Right, we're where we are. Let's take this off of the heat. So right, maybe have about 1 liter or so in there right now. So what I'm going to do is just pack this up, and then I will take it home so I can do proper filtration and boil it down until we get down to 66 Brix, which is the sugar content of maple syrup. I like to do things pretty precisely. I want to make sure I have the best maple syrup possible. I mean, some people boil down until they, you know, they recognize, how the bubbling looks or things like that, and it's ready to go. But I like to actually measure it, the sugar content, to make sure I'm getting the best maple syrup possible. All right, so there we go. We have it in the pail here. This is going to go back home, get filtered properly, and then boiled down some more. You can see the color of it, and that's the color of light maple syrup. There's many different grades of maple syrup. Light, medium, dark, and extra dark. So this is light. This is the first stuff you get this time of year. It's beautiful. Don't worry, all the stuff will get out of there. It gets filtered at least a couple times. And then, yeah, we'll boil it down, and I'll show you that process later. That's hot. Time to warm up. You know, it takes me back to, when I was younger and just seeing how things were done in the woods. It was a boiling, sap the old-fashioned way, the big old kettle over the fire pit in the woods. So really cool. I'm so glad I'm doing it that way this year. I don't know why I've never done that in recent time. It's really fun, it's relaxing, and it's going to save me a lot of work inside. Well, it's the next morning. I spent yesterday afternoon just relaxing and reading my new book called Stay and Fight. I really like that book. It's about some ladies that live off-grid in this homemade cabin. So I'm just starting that book. I really, really like it. So I kind of got engrossed in that last night and just relaxing. Up again this morning, not sure what I'll be up to. I mean, right now I'm making breakfast. Wind's picking up, and I feel a little bit of mist in the air again. I think I might do a little bit of a mixture of rain and snow this morning. We're in the middle of, false spring. I mean, today's the first day of technical spring, but I always call it false spring because you get lured into some really nice warm stuff, and then it kind of cools off again and you get a little bit of an early spring snowstorm. So I'm just making some breakfast here again. You know, the huge, my coffee and my pancakes. So I'm going to have that and then decide what I'm going to do today. Gotta make some spring plans. Birds are already at the feeder, and I can hear the river has opened up. It is raging. You can hear the rapids going, so that's really cool. That's definitely what I want to hear this time of year. You know, today is the day a year ago that I actually put some taps in, so I was actually ahead of the game this year, so I'll get an extra bit of maple production because I started so early. But I don't know if this app's going to be running too well today. We haven't had that really good freeze in the night and warm up during the day. It actually stayed pluses overnight tonight, so nice to wake up to, but not great for my maple production. Well, these are perfect pancakes if I do say so myself. I'm going to have some strawberries on top of these. In the distance I hear red-winged blackbirds clacking, so that's a good noise to hear. Over here I hear that's a nuthatch. You know, there's this really cool app on Google Play and stuff like that that actually can identify the birds from their call. Like, you just have your phone listen and then it'll tell you what's there. So I'm gonna put a link down below in the description box. You guys can download that to your phones for this spring, so you can kind of identify the spring migrants as they come in. And there's my breakfast. Delicious. Let's head out in a little walk now. I'm just taking a look at my white pines. They're getting quite large, which is awesome. This spring I want to make a foraged jam. I want to make pine cone jam. So when we do that, you need pine cones that are really small, like the size of your pinky nail. So I'm trying to look at some of my evergreens and seeing which one would be appropriate to do that. Some of these guys are already developing cones because they're, oh boy, they're about 9 years old now at least. So you got to get them when they're really young. A bit too early for harvesting now. I'm just kind of flagging trees that I'll be interested in. Might even use some spruce, we'll see. But I'm really excited. It's kind of a delicacy in Europe, the pine cone jam. I'll try to make some myself this spring. Snow is pretty deep out here still. Pretty sheltered here with these pines from the sun, so I just don't want to sink in too far. So there's some spruce tips. I know you guys should do a little spring challenge, and the spruce tips are just little babies right now. When they start to sprout, that's when we harvest them for pickling or tea or syrup. So here we go, not too much longer. I also put them in salads too, they're really tasty. The other thing I want to harvest this year are buds from trees in the poplar family, because they contain kind of like an aspirin-like product, salicylic acid. So pretty excited to do that and maybe make some salve or oil from the Populinus buds. It'll be really cool. So aspens are in that family, and we've got some buds right there. So poplar, you know, you guys may have some poplar in your area. I have a lot of aspen. So here are some really large pine cones of the white pine. You can save these for Christmas ornaments or put peanut butter on them for the birds. So this is not the size I'm talking about for making, you know, pine cone jam. You definitely want to get them before they're like, you know, then they're really, really, really small. I want to show you, this is last year's spruce tips. So these are the tips that came out last spring. These aren't edible. They're really spiky. When they're young, they're nice and soft, but you see how much growth there is in a year. That's got to be like almost 3 inches. Now don't be fooled, you know, when you're looking for pine cones. I was looking over here. I'm like, oh, what's that? That's actually the pupae of the LDD moth. So that is not a pine cone. There's a lot of usnea, or old man's beard. Ooh, yeah, look at this. That's awesome. I know one person, I think on TikTok, actually made noodles with this. I don't know how tasty that would be, but you guys know I still have my usnea medicine in the cupboard. It's going to be there for many more weeks. But look, got another source of it right here. That's awesome. Usnea also tells us that the air quality in this area is extremely good. It's a lichen. There's more lichen here. Yeah. That tells us that the air quality is awesome, but I could have told you that. Definitely on a Coyote Trail here. I wonder where this leads, but it looks like it's pretty well worn in. It's their breeding season right now, so I was got to be careful walking out in the woods. Especially him. But thankfully he's neutered, so he's not going to go wandering off. But sometimes the female coyotes can lure male dogs out and attack them. So just want to be really careful. And we got a little poop pile there and some deer tracks. Very good. They're coming out of their yards. Oh, and there's more. Rice do not. Oh, wow. Very fresh poop piles. Get out of there. Get. No. God, must be a deer like really close. A lot of fresh poop. find them. Well, Rice will find them, that's for sure. Well, that was a bit of a workout going through the woods. Just kind of came through a big patch there after going through the field, and whew, that snow was still deep out in there. You can hear the rushing rapids behind me. Love that sound. It sounds like wind, but it's not. Oh, it's super quiet. Well, some of you guys may be wondering what the next step is for our maple syrup done the old-fashioned way. So let's go to the kitchen and I'll show you the next steps. Here we are back in the kitchen, and you can see I've got the remaining sap boiling. Look how light the color is on the sap. Now the temperature of sap initially when it's out of the tree is about, when you start boiling it, it's 100 Celsius. When we get down to where we want it to be at 66 Brix, the sugar content, it is approximately 104 Celsius. So as we're boiling down, I've transferred to a smaller vessel and measuring the temperature really closely. Pay attention, everyone. This can boil over really fast. I had a minor little boil over here. You can see a little bit of sticky stuff on the counter. You don't want this at a crazy high boil. You'll start noticing these bigger bubbles as the time gets pretty close. We want to sit beside this when we get to this point. You don't want to leave this alone. You could end up with a disaster, or you could end up getting it too hot and making thread candy or softball candy. You can, if you want, for maple syrup, or before I made maple sugar, and you're going to go up a lot higher for that. So yeah, let's keep a really close eye. When we get to temperature, I'm going to do one final check. This is my Brix Meter. They're not that expensive. It just tells you the sugar content of the sap. So you can either test it hot or cold. Of course, I'm testing it pretty hot. So I want it right at 66 there. So some people get a little bit more, like 67, just to get a really nice, mouth feel to the maple syrup. It's got a nice texture. Yeah, not too expensive. You just kind of float this in your syrup, and it'll tell you if you've got enough sugar in there. When things are, at 66 Brix, what I do is I put the syrup through an Orlon filter. That's sort of what it's called. And it's a really big filter, obviously, for bigger operations, but I just sort of prop this over, like a measuring cup or something, and I strain the syrup so it's nice and crystal clear. There we go. You can see I've got my little Brix Meter floating, and it's right at that little red line. You can see that. So there we go. We're ready to filter. So I'm just holding this over a measuring cup here, and you can see it's filtering away, and look at that beautiful maple syrup. So it's going to take a little bit of time. You will get a little bit of residual in the Orlon filter. Do not be tempted to squeeze it. You may end up with a little bit of extra cloudiness to the syrup. So just let it go and filter it hot. All right, so I have my selection of vessels. Basically about 250 milliliters there. So I'm just going to use one of these smaller bottles, and we'll just pour in the sap, but I do need a funnel actually. Well, that's better. Let's pour this in. And there we go. Look at that. That's the what we call the light grade of maple syrup. This is typically what we see first time of the year, the first tap. And oh, it's beautiful. You will not find this in stores. Another reason to tap your own maple. All right, let's head back to the cabin. The little red squirrels are out, and I saw a chipmunk too, so feeding as the birds drop the seeds. Royce, you're missing your opportunity here. In terms of spring projects here at the cabin, definitely getting more potable water here by, sterilizing rainwater and fixing the attic so the mice don't get all our stuff. Other things, I don't know, maybe I'll put some gutters on here, like the, ones were described by some of my Swedish followers, like wooden ones that kind of collect water into the rain barrel. That'd be kind of cool. Even just dishwashing and stuff like that. So a few things on tap, also trail making, and then I gotta summarize my snowmobile. So lots of things on tap. In not too much time, the phoebes will be back nesting again. Every year they nest on top of the Dutch clogs, so they'll be back. Another project that's been ongoing is making sure the Martin heater has been serviced. We've had it now about 3 years. So today's project was to adjust the pilot light. There were some issues with the starter, so how you start it's kind of at the top. So that was replaced. Replaced a few little parts in here just for good measure. The pilot was dirty, so it was cleaned out. And then the pilot's lives way in there. The pilot was actually too tall. So how to fix that is there's actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, there is a spot on the Martin heater that you can adjust the flame on the pilot. So that was easy enough. And now the servicing is basically complete for the season. So that's really good news. It's definitely the time of year to say goodbye to the snow. You can snow bathe or put your feet in the snow just to say a fond farewell. Oh, it feels so good. You don't feel like you're going to die after, because it's not 1,000,000 degrees below zero. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's little adventure at the cabin, preparing maple syrup, you know, just like old timers would. It's just lots of fun. All right, enjoy spring, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.